Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Look at this beautiful crowd. My name is Jim Godo, class of 1993. Happy homecoming, everybody. I'm the Vice President for Communication and External Affairs. It is my joy to welcome you to campus for this special occasion. The year was 1990. A North Central freshman was invited to serve on the Presidential Search Advisory Committee. In that process, the person chosen to lead North Central College as the 9th president was Harold R. Wilde. Hal, the man who vowed to always wear a North Central hat, as evidenced today, and the man who to this day defines Cardinal spirit. Today we gather to celebrate the dedication and naming of the Hal and Benna Wilde Res Rec Center. Or as Hal would say it, the Wilde. It is a wonderful tribute to a remarkable leader and a special family in the life of North Central College. Hal served as the president of North Central College from March 1991 through December 2012, a 22-year presidency. Consider this. In the college's 164-year history, there have been 12 presidents. Only 4 served at least 20 years, including President Wilde. And only 1 president served longer than Hal, Edward Everett Rawle, who was the president for 30 years. GP will be 92 when he matches Hal's tenure. Yes, I was the freshman that I mentioned earlier. It was a blessing in my life to be a witness to history. I hope you all don't mind me saying that today's event, 35 years later, is particularly rewarding and emotional for me. Hal and Benna, Anna, Henry, Ty, and your entire family, I'm honored beyond words to be here celebrating your extraordinary legacy. A few people are here to pay tribute to you today. Our speakers include Rick Spencer, honorary trustee and a member of the cabinet throughout Hal's presidency, serving the bulk of the 22 years as vice president for institutional advancement. Lisa Pettaway, class of 1993, currently a senior philanthropy officer. She was a student and then a staff member during Hal's presidency. Tom Cavanaugh, Schneller Sisters Professor of Leadership, Ethics, and Values. Professor Cavanaugh was on the faculty during Hal's 22 years as president, and he shares Hal's affinity for the Green Bay Packers. Lauren Benson, class of 2027, from Geneva, Illinois, majoring in biology. She is a middle blocker on the Cardinal volleyball team and serves as the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Following Lauren, we will hear a special music presentation by the North Central College Concert Choir, directed by Dr. Mona Wiss, Mimi Rowland Endowed Professor in the Fine Arts, Professor of Music, and Director of Choral Activities. The college's 12th president, Abiodun Goke Periola, GP, will then give remarks and introduce Hal and Benna. I'm pretty sure Hal will have something to say today. Michael Nassett, Chair of the Board of Trustees, will join GP, Hal, and Benna, and our speakers to unveil the new lettering that adorns the building's facade behind me, and to formally dedicate this building that bears the Wilde name. Following the unveiling, the concert choir will sing the North Central College alma mater, And in the spirit of homecoming, we invite you to join along as well. Hal and Benna, congratulations to you and your family. Without further ado, please welcome our first speaker, Rick Spencer.
Thank you, Jim. Seems kind of weird. The years pass by. I sit here and look at everybody, and so many of the same faces that were here for every dedication, every naming, beginning of school, graduations. Didn't seem that long ago I accepted Jim Godo to this college. Accepted Lisa Pettaway to this college. And so those were good decisions. Those were good decisions. So I brought, a good North Central hat. Hal wore this one a lot. Not this one. And they gave us some new ones. They're kind of awesome. But I looked and I thought, well, it's a lot bigger. That'll hold more popcorn, more Cheez-Its. And then I thought, but the salt, Jim, Mary, the salt's going to go through these hats. I'll stick with this one for now. No, I'll go with this one, Hal. Preparing for this, it's really the first time I've spoken to a group since I left here 4 years ago. And it used to be, I just kind of knew what to do. Hal, we did hundreds of these. I go to my office, close the door, nobody bothered me. I'd work on it, and I'd walk out, talk to everybody, chit-chat, go back, work on it, talk to everybody, go back, work on it, sleep on it, go back, work on it, next day, close the door. Eventually, I wander down to Jim's office. Jim, make this sound good. This past week, I was in St. Louis at the football game against WashU, then went down to Branson, Missouri. Met my wife down there with our college friends. Spent a week golfing, drinking, laughing, eating. And I kept saying to myself, I got to get up tomorrow morning and go work on the speech. The next morning, I got to go out and work on the speech. I'm driving home, I got to work on the speech. And then we get home, and recently our youngest son, Tyke, and his family moved in with us because they're redoing their house. So now they're living with us. And so now I got grandkids running around. Poppy, let's do this. Play football, Poppy. And I keep going. I gotta get that. I gotta get this written. So I did get it written. And I sit here and I look at Hal, you and Benna, Ty, Henry, Anna. Your kids look like when you got here. It's just really, it's mesmerizing. So what did Hal and Benna do to have this day? They're great partners, but when they came to this college, they were pretty unique. They were something very different, something that people weren't really maybe ready for. It was a couple, young, tall, fundraiser, pretty aggressive in his belief in what he believed in. Benna, quiet, supportive, strong, raising 3 kids. Well, Anna was about ready to go to college. And working, a working wife. How's that going to work? And amazing over the 22 years how Benna juggled that life with their kids, with students on campus, which she loved, going to activities, always active, being at the ceremonies, having dinners. And it became really an interesting way to see 2 wonderful people work together to make this college great. And when Benna was at, or they both were at a theater production, music production, which she loved, and it was a lot of what her life work was in philanthropy, the arts. About halfway through at intermission, or halftime, Hal could get up, sneak away, go to the second half of the basketball game. But there'd still be a Wilde present. At a home football game or a basketball game, Hal would be up, as Laura used to say, in his perch, cheering the team on. Benna, there with him. But usually at about the first quarter, she would open up a book, and she'd read a book. But she still knew what was going on. She still knew we won, we lost, who did what. So that was always amazed me. But what a great couple. But a lot of the reason we're here today for this is what was accomplished in those 22 years. It's a quick list that's long, that's unbelievably impactful. Hal got here, it was 1,250 students. When he left, 2,500. That's double. Endowment, 10 million. Actually, it was a little bit less than 10 million, I know. Went to 95 million. Endowed chairs, which I'm sure Tom's going to talk about, which cost $1 million to $1.5 million to establish a professorship. There was 0. It went to 13. He was so committed in everything he did to increase the quality of this institution and be able to keep great faculty and attract great faculty, which it did. And the buildings, the Wentz Concert Hall and Fine Arts Center with the Madden Theater and Shane Hare Art Gallery, right next to downtown. Miley Swallow Hall, renovated church, right next to Central Park. Kieckhofer Hall, north end of campus, renovated from a student center and chapel to an expanded student center and chapel. Benedetti Worley Stadium, right behind us. And worked so hard to get Dick Worley and Al Benedetti to agree to put their name up there, Benedetti Worley Stadium, because everybody in this frickin' town could see that stadium. And we wanted to say Benedetti Worley Stadium, North Central College, because that meant somebody financially put that thing up. And that was an important part of telling the story and inspiring others. And then Zimmerman Baseball Field, right next to it. Schanhauer Family Softball Field. The Mimi and Roland Boiler House. That was kind of a big moment that I know some of our students said, God, we're a real college now. We got a coffee house. Old Main renovation. The Schneller Townhouse. Ward Hall. Patterson Hall. All residents. Had to be grown because we went from that 1,200 to 2,500, and student enrollment and staying on campus became very important. And there are smaller renovations like the AC in Pfeiffer Hall, which wasn't really small for those that went to events. Ossory Library, the bottom floor of that thing was kind of a disaster English department area, and it was turned in, the whole building, to a library, and really set the stage for what it is today. The White Activity Center renovation, maybe a couple of those. The Lawrence Academic Center renovation that included the Roberta Myers Language Lab. Secured the Hammersmith House on the middle of campus, and the 2 properties in Riverview that we now have all 3 properties, and it's going to be used soon for some good use. Foundations like Kresge, Coleman, NFS, all started supporting the college at big numbers. In Hal's tenure, we had 42 gifts and pledges over $1 million. Guess that's how you get to 95 million. That's how you get to a lot of names with buildings with names on them. The college footprint grew from 500,000 to 1 million square feet. 13,000 students graduated in those 2 years. 13,000. That's 13,000 handshakes. You know it. But you know, it took a team. Hal knew that, kind of from his growing up in Wisconsin, but I think really settled in to him when he met Al Carries, and he talked about that at Al's memorial a week ago when he first met him. And he said, this is a person that's a leader, and Al believed in team, and so did Hal. And he developed from a team from top to bottom. Since I was on that cabinet, I know that most clearly, and most of those years there was 4 of us. I get emotional here. Lori's here. Lori Heyman, who is the VP for Student Affairs and Athletics.
And everything else.
And everything else, as Hal just said. He was probably Hal's most trusted person on this campus and on our cabinet because of her amazing understanding of the students and a feel for the students, what they were feeling, what they needed, where we needed to grow. And I know she was a key to all the success that we had. And it's so cool to have you here. Dev Pandian, what a great vice president that when Hal hired him, it was to raise the excellent at North Central College. And Dev had a level of excellence that was so high. Tom knows that. All the faculty members here that worked under Dev know that. And that's why Dev and Hal became such great partners. Paul Oscheider, VP for Business Affairs, I would say they got off to a rough start because Paul was used to a certain way of finances being handled. Hal was used to a different way. And both of them worked really well to always keep the college in the black, to always have a lot of resources left over at the end of the year to be able to pour back into the buildings, and eventually built up to begin buildings such as Res Rec right after we finished almost fully funding the Fine Arts Center the next year. And so Paul became a real champion of Hal, and I think that was something that was a key to making the college successful, when the business manager, the business person on campus in finance can have trust in the president, and the president can have trust in the business officer that'll do what he says. No, I'm just kidding. But that was what really charged us forward. And Hal's collaboration, his ability to collaborate, his ability to listen, he was open to discussions, he was open to different perspectives and ideas. He challenged us, he pushed us, he was smart, he had a vision, he was visionary, he was kind, he cared deeply, not only in his partner, Benna, but his family, but beyond that, to have all of us on cabinet be part of his family, and we felt it every single day. I was with those people every day, every week, and everything we did, we knew what each other were doing, but it was all because Hal gave us the ability to speak our mind, move forward on things that we believed in, and supported us. He was also self-deprecating. He had an ego, but he didn't have an ego. It's really a strange thing, but if you look at great leaders, they have to have an ego because they've got to have that strength to really push and know that they can do something, know that they can win, but also don't have an ego. Didn't matter who came up with the idea of this great building behind us. Was it Dick Worley or Scott Worley or one of the partners, Al Benedetti or Don Deachin, to help with the college? Was it Lori? Was it Paul Oscheider, Mike Hudson? You know, Hal didn't give a heck who it was. I didn't either. We just needed that building done, and it was a great idea because we used to spend days on that hill with balloons trying to figure out how high a 4-story building would be, how high a 5-story would be, and would the city allow us, would it be appropriate, and we kind of came down to, I don't think we can do this. And then, where are we going to put a rec center? Al Curious deserves an indoor track. We were the only school in our conference that did not have an indoor track. Al, I don't think, had won a national title for 9 years in cross-country, indoor track, or outdoor track. Our facilities were just poor, and we just knew we needed it. But somehow, that idea came together, and we built this building. And it was kind of in stages, and I'll just finish with this, because it kind of just sums up Hal's tenure, even though it was kind of in the middle of it. Now it was towards the end, I guess. But we had to really trust each other. And there was times that Paul Oscheider had to kind of trust Hal was making the right decisions on such ideas of, oh, let's put a track on the 3rd level so students can run and stay fit while our track team was practicing indoor. And also just have a second place to keep to have fans so we could hold a national title. We didn't have enough people to be able to watch indoor track, so we had to do this track on the top. And boy, Paul Oscheider's eyes were this big when he asked him. And then we went to Dick Worley, and Dick Worley's eyes were this big. And probably Scott convinced him that we could do it. And they kind of changed plans, and we had the second track. So at the end, about a week before, if I remember correctly, before school started, the whole campus was out here painting this building that red color. We went down to the day before. Faculty, staff, alums, neighborhood people out there in their pajamas, painting away. And I know Mike Hudson and Paul were here till, probably Mike Westfall, I saw him, until late 8 hours painting, and the next day the students showed up. So this building, it's the right building. It's the right building, Hal and Benna. You deserve it. Your care for this college, really the way you lived, the way you brought up your kids was a way to follow for our students and to look up to. And I'm really, really overjoyed that this is going to be the Hal and Benna Wilde Resurrect. Congratulations. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Please welcome the concert choir. As they come out with homecoming this weekend, the students here have some other commitments, and so we're going to let them perform right now. I will remind you that this concert choir is directed by Dr. Mona Wiss. She is the Mimi Rowland Endowed Professor in the Fine Arts, Professor of Music, and Director of Choral Activities. And those of us who spent a lot of time with Hal and Benna know that no event like this would be complete without music. And so this is a special performance with Hal and Benna in mind.
Good afternoon. So my name is Lisa Pettaway, and I'm an alum of the college twice over. I have an undergrad degree from North Central, a grad degree from North Central. I'm married to a North Central alum. I have a son who's a North Central alum. And it is truly an honor to be able to speak about Hal and Benna from a lens of an alum, from the lens of a student early in your tenure as president here at North Central. Thank you. Thank you. And from the perspective of a current employee who's been with the college for 30 years in one development capacity or another, much of that time under Hal's tenure. So I came here as a student 35 years ago. I had a great experience as a student here. And when I think about it, Hal, you were such a visionary, and your leadership was transformational. When I look at NCC from when I started as a student to the time that Hal retired, we see transformational change. From the physical buildings on campus, to the spikes in enrollment on campus, to the more prominent regional and national recognitions that the college achieved. And all of that happened under your leadership. You always wore the NCC hat, both literally and physically, and always championed North Central, and did so with immense sense and pride, with an immense sense of pride. And I also want to acknowledge Benna, because beside every great man is an equally great, if not even greater, woman. And Benna is definitely that. The countless events and entertaining students, faculty, staff, alums, and donors at their home. There were so many events that you were a part of in this community, and you were right there, right beside Hal all the time. And you did that as a wife. You did that as a mother. You did that as a working professional. And I know how much time and how much commitment that must have taken. So please know how grateful we are for you as well. So Hal, you know, I've always thought of you as that visible president. You were everywhere. You were super approachable, which made students always feel comfortable being around you. And I think about all the student events you were at. I mean, you were at everything. And I often think about how often you would walk through Kaufman Dining Hall to say hello to students, to chat with students. And that was a perfect example of meeting people and meeting students where they were. And the one thing I have to say, I must say this, if while you were in Kaufman, you grabbed an ice cream cone, it was a small one though, it was a small one, or some cheese puffs, or maybe some popcorn along the way, well, even better. Because the more I got to know Hal, especially when I came back and started working here at North Central, the more that I realized that he is a lover of food. He is a lover of good food. He's a lover of not so good food for you. He's a lover of sweets, of popcorn, but only with real butter, of summer sausage, and of cheese. And I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie too. And we bonded over many conversations about food. And that to me, right, that type of interaction was so much a part of his presidency. And by that, I mean, you made people feel seen, you made people feel valued, and you made people feel like they belong. And even if that was just sitting around talking about food. And that is such a valuable tool in building trust, which is why I believe that you were so successful and why you are so beloved. So there are so many stories that I could tell about Hal, and I think any person, he's shaking his head like, no, 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 because I have some stories. But I would like to share a short story with you that for me defines who he is as a leader and who he is as a person. I'm not trying not to get emotional about this, because even as I went over this, I got teared up a little bit, but I was very young in my career at North Central, and I hadn't been back here working for probably about a year or so. And in 1996, my father passed away unexpectedly due to heart failure, and it was right before Christmas. So his visitation was on a Friday, his funeral was that Saturday, and Christmas was the early part of that following week. And the college was actually closed on that holiday, that Friday. And I'm at home in Indiana with my family, and the phone rings. And it was Rick Spencer. It was Rick Spencer. And he was my vice president at the time. And he said, hey, Lisa, I'm at the funeral home with Barb. That was Barbara Knuckles, who was my boss, my direct boss, and the president. And we wanted to know if we could stop by and visit with you and your family. Now, the visitation was with that day, but the family hour was later in that day. So I gave Rick directions to my home. And so a little bit later, he and Barbara and Hal showed up. And I remember them sitting in our living room with my family, drinking coffee out of a styrofoam cup. And so after they left my house that day, I remember my aunt came up to me and she said, Lisa, she said, you have some great colleagues, first of all. And they said, and that one gentleman, that was the president of the college that you work for? And I said, yes, it is. And she said, so Lisa, that's like the CEO, that's like the big boss. And I said, yes. I said, yeah, it is. And she said to me, wow, Lisa, they must really, really think so much of you. And when I thought about it, there was absolutely no expectation on my part, absolutely none, that Rick and Barbara would even show up at my house and to bring Hal along. But it meant the world to me that they did that. And I'm not from this area. I'm from Indiana. So I was about as in an entry-level position as you could be at North Central at the time. And to be honest, I really didn't even interact with Hal like on an everyday cadence. It was right before Christmas. The college was closed. And when he could have been at home with his family, he chose to come to Gary, Indiana, to pay respect to mine. And I've told this story often over the years, and I always relate it back to culture, and I relate it back to the belonging feeling you always have at North Central and this being like a family. But my aunt's statement that day really, really hit home to me, because while I thought, it's true, I'm guessing that, you did think highly of me, and I'm not negating that at all. But at the same time, the reality of it, and this is especially true since the 30 years since then, since I've gotten to know Hal better, is that he would have done that for so many people, and he did. It just in different ways, because that is who he is as a leader and as a person. So there's this well-known quote, most of the time it's attributed to Dr. Maya Angelou, and it says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And to me, those are such important parts of who you are, of the legacy that you have left here, and that is so special. You are a person who leads with empathy, Hal. You are a person who leads with purpose. You are a person who cares about people, and you are a person who cares so, so much about this college. So, congratulations to Hal and Benna on the naming of the Hal and Benna Wilde Res Rec Center. I honestly could not think of a more fitting tribute to you both, to commemorate the unbelievable legacy you've left throughout the decades past and for the future to come. Much love and blessings to both of you, always.
I have props. I am so elated for you. Hal and I have known each other for 40 years. And Benna's 40 years. No one deserves this honor more richly than Hal and Benna, who have poured themselves into this place that we all love in so many ways. So I was just thrilled when GP called me and asked me to say a few words on behalf of the faculty. Hal had a splendid tradition I'd like to start these couple words with. Whenever a major gift was made to the, I better fix the microphone, right? Whenever a major gift was made to the college, he'd celebrate by wearing a red sport coat to our next faculty meeting. So we'd see him come in the red and we'd know, man, there's going to be something big today because if Hal's in red, we got a great gift. So Hal, at this great celebration, it turns out I'm in the Hall of Fame when I put this on. No one deserves the red coat treatment more than you two, so it just felt so right to put it on. But wait, there's more. For my favorite fellow Green Bay Packers fan, there's only a couple of us around. I'm told that cabinet meetings on Monday mornings were spectacular when North Central, Wisconsin, and the beloved Pack pulled off victories all on the same weekend. Rick, am I right about that?
I can't answer.
Yeah, Rick won't answer. I started my career at North Central just shortly before Hal. I've outlasted him, I'm happy to say. And Rick has given you a list of some of these places, but I just, well, he only wrote his speech last night, so I didn't know he was going to do that. And so I just want to mention a couple of them. 40 years ago, Old Main was old. Hal fixed that with a fantastic renovation that we all benefit from today. The boiler house was still boiling, and Hal fixed that with this wonderful Roland Center Cafe. We had a single aging concert hall that housed all of our arts faculty. Hal fixed that with the Wentz Concert Hall and Miley Swallow Hall, which together vastly expanded our arts capacity. Our bookstore was a little room in the basement of White Activities Center. Hal fixed that with our standalone campus bookstore. Though I have to say I feel a little sad as a guy 40 years ago, there were actually books in the bookstore. Now I think it's the campus clothing store. Yeah. We had an aging indoor athletic facility, and he fixed that with the building to which we'll affix his name today. He added Obby House, Rawl House, Smith House, residence halls, so much more to our campus. His fingerprints are everywhere. In fact, back then, there was no such thing as the internet. And wait a minute, Al Gore fixed that. Let me offer three observations from a faculty perspective that speak to the kind of president we had in Hal. Of course, he loved and respected the liberal arts. Of course, he engaged meaningfully, and you've heard that already with our students, in his basement over pizza, in Kaufman, everywhere with our students. Of course, he rooted for all of our teams, all of them, from football to forensics. But lots of presidents do those things, at least I hope they do. So let me add three things to that list that Hal brought to us. The first is that Hal cultivated a place that was never us versus them. It was never faculty versus administration. It was never labor versus management. It's not just eyewash when we talk about a North Central College family. We felt that way then, and I think it feels that way now to most of us. And Hal and Benna laid the foundation for that. The old saw about higher ed is that there's no big stakes to fight for, so we fight tooth and nail over the small ones. But doing that can make campuses places with ugly divisions. That wasn't then, and I hope it never will be our culture. And Hal and Benna have so much to do with creating the way we feel at this place now. Hal participated in faculty meetings. That's not a given elsewhere. Hal's door was always open for faculty. That's also not a given elsewhere. For a lot of years, the mail room was down in the basement of Old Main. And you'd frequently find Hal down there talking with faculty or anybody who came by to pick up their mail. Hal was in the arena, the North Central arena, and he did that with and for everyone with whom he worked. Second, Hal took joy from everyone's successes. My gray-haired faculty friends, I say that as one with plenty of it himself, will recall that when endowed chairs were given, it was always at a faculty meeting, and it was always Hal offering the first hearty handshake and huge smile. Not because he'd raised the money, but because here was somebody getting this wonderful gift and enjoying their success at the college, and Hal always joined in that. When a faculty member published a book or wrote a paper, there'd be a note from Hal. It used to be on paper until we got email, then an email, right? Being the head honcho can make people arrogant, can make them self-absorbed, but that never happened to Hal, who loved everything that everyone did for this great place. Third, things weren't always easy. But when there was tension, there was something called the Wilde rule. I'm told Benna authored and has advanced this, and it boils down to this. And I'll tell a quick story about it in a second. Never hold your anger more than 30 minutes. My experience of it was my second year here. After a long faculty search, a colleague and I came to Hal with a candidate that we were sure was right for the job. We pitched Hal, he was skeptical. We pitched a little harder, he was additionally skeptical. We pushed nose to nose for a while. And as happens when you have an argument with the president, we lost. Now, I leave there as a second year junior faculty thinking to himself, holy moly, I just went nose to nose with the president. I wonder if I need to get my resume together. But we talked later, and I hear the Wilde rule. Of course we don't. We had it out. We argued something to the effect of, I'd hire you as my lawyer anytime. But then we moved on. Hal never held anger, never held a grudge, never did anything of that sort. I have to say, it pains me to admit it, but you were right. About the hire, that is. And Benna was there at every turn, connecting us with the Chicago art community, hosting events with such grace, keeping Hal in line. In fact, another memory, she was responsible for bringing the graduation speaker I believe was the best we ever had, Christian Wyman, a poet and a cancer survivor who spoke in ways I've never forgotten. And of all the things, when my sister passed the next year from cancer, it's Christian Wyman's book that got me through that. I'm so grateful for all you've done for this place, too. So Hal had so many approaches to life I've tried to adopt. Here's the last one. Rick actually alluded briefly to it. Whenever he offered gratitude in a meeting, in person, in writing, he'd say, thank you, thank you, thank you. One thank you was never enough. So my excellent friend, as we dedicate this building to you and Benna, would you all join me in saying, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good afternoon, President Wilde, Mrs. Wilde, and the entire Wilde family. It is an honor for me to participate at today's event. During my sophomore year, President Wilde, although I enrolled after your presidency ended, I experienced the incredible results of your time here every day. During my sophomore year, my roommate Abby and I lived on the 4th floor of this building, the Wilde Res Rec Center. In my visits to other college campuses, I never experienced a building quite like this one. I enjoyed being close to Murner Fieldhouse for volleyball practices and matches, and it was great to attend indoor track and field meets without having to leave the building. Living in this building is quite a popular choice for today's students. I've gotten to know Jim Godo. He likes to share stories about the good old days when he was a student. Sometimes too many stories. In my experience as a student, I've taken for granted that Old Main always had towers that connected on all floors, or that my school always had an incredible Wentz Concert Hall and Fine Arts Center for all kinds of events, including my Welcome Week activities as a first-year student. This year, I live in Schneller Hall, which was another building that was added as your time as president. Thank you for the upgrade from Raw Hall. I have come to realize that your time as president, has brought many modern features that make the North Central College an attractive place for students like me and my peers. On behalf of more than 3,000 students on this campus, thank you for all that you did to create the North Central that we know today. I have also come to realize that you were and still are a huge Cardinal athletics fan, and throughout your presidency, you were a strong advocate for the Division III athletic experience at North Central. As the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, I want to say on behalf of all of my fellow athletes, thank you for building such a strong athletic tradition that people like Coach Carius and others had started before you arrived. I am told that you still live in the area, so I hope you won't mind a plug on behalf of my volleyball teammates. We would love to see you at one of our matches. Mr. Godo told me I could say that. It is hard to believe that in less than 2 years, I will walk across the stage in the Hal and Benna Wilde Res-Rec Center as a graduate of North Central College. Even though I'm told that you like an outdoor commencement ceremony, I am grateful that my family and the families of my friends in the class of 2027 will be in this beautiful building without the fear of rain or heat to celebrate earning our degrees. As a first-generation college student, it will be particularly meaningful to me and my family, and I'm so glad that I can say that I met the people who this building is named after. President Wilde and Mrs. Wilde, thank you for all that you continue to do for North Central College and for students like me. Congratulations and go Cardinals.
Good afternoon, and I want to thank all my colleagues and our students who have spoken before me. It is indeed an honor for me to be here today and to be able to be here for this dedication in honor of Hal and Benna Wilde. Since taking the reins of this college as the 12th president, and also previously during my 9 years of service as provost and vice president for academic affairs, I have come to consider Hal one of my best mentors and confidants. Across the college's 70-acre campus and 44 campus buildings, there are only a few facilities, as you've heard today, that bear the name of a former president. And to this dedication of the Hal and Benna Wilde Res-Rec Center, it is indeed a special honor and a much-deserved one. You've heard a lot about how their hands have touched virtually everything on this campus, so I will spare you a repetition of that. But I'd like to remind us that Hal spearheaded the renovation of his beloved Old Main, a building that he has described as a living link between the college's distinguished past and its unlimited future. Through it all, Benna was a constant presence on campus, supporting our students, befriending our neighbors, and dedicating her talents to the arts. In particular, Benna, who retired not long ago as managing director of the Prince Charitable Trust in Chicago, played a critical role in helping grow and connect the North Central, Naperville, and Chicago artistic communities to us, a passion that continues to this day. Quite simply, North Central College would not be what it is today without Hal and Benna. The president who followed Hal, Troy Hammond, took office in January 2013. I joined him as provost in the summer of 2015. Now, what I find is that we had an amazing foundation on which to build, because every generation has to build for the future. But you are empowered when you have someone who's plowed the field for you and laid a solid foundation. That is what Hal had done for us. And this college is different from the one that Hal left, but it is different in the sense that it's still a better version, but we could not be here today without the work that he has done. In short, Hal and Benna gave us the wings that we have used to fly. So thank you very much. The Wilde name attached to this building is a fitting tribute to Hal and Benna, as you've heard over and over. When the concept of the Res-Rec was conceived, It was a bold, creative, and student-centered solution to meet the growing needs of a new generation of cardinals. Bold, creative, student-centered. These are words that describe this building, but they can also easily describe Hal and Benna. In the mid-2000s, North Central College was an institution on the rise. Thanks to Hal, a growing student body was in need of a resident hall space, and those students needed a facility to play, to learn, and to live in. At the same time, a national class track and field program needed a national class training and competition facility with locker room space and offices to go along with it. All of this need expressed itself in the midst of an economic recession. What a challenging time. The solutions to these challenges might have seemed like too much to take on. Certainly too many to tackle all at once. But Hal did something that he has established for us. We are a bold institution. We don't shrink from challenges. We confront them. We find a way to deal with challenges. We jump over them, we run around them, we tunnel under them, or we knock them down. And that's what Hal did. He figured out a way to get it done, boldly, creatively, and for the benefit of our students. And he did it as part of a team, which is always important. A team that included, as you've heard, names like Wilde, Benedetti, Benke, Hoover, Hudson, Loscheider, Spencer, Carrios, Grammaroso, and countless others. In the years since ResRec opened its doors, this building has been home to hundreds of students. It has been the site of multiple national championships, all-American performances, and countless personal bests. It is also where thousands of North Central College graduates have crossed the stage, shaken the hand of the president, and gone on to make the world a better place. I was delighted to see Lori Heyman here today because she was a part of that journey. And this, because it's a student-centered facility, bears the hallmark of our extraordinary leadership. I cannot think of a more fitting place to bear the name of Hal and Benna Wilde. From this day forward, future generations of cardinals will have the privilege of sharing in those same experiences in the Hal and Benna Wilde ResRec Center. To Hal and Benna and your entire family, including those who are not here with us today, I say thank you for the extraordinary work you have done for this amazing institution. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to invite Hal to the stage to make some comments. And Benna, you come with him. So, Hal, you can't take this building with you. But we have some things you can take with you today. So I'd like to present each of you with a gift from us.
So many kind words. It means that we've been gone long enough that they forgot all the bad things. We stand here today in the presence of a spirit who embodied everything Benna and I love about North Central College and the timeless values that define this special place. Kindness, empathy, decency, hard work, competitive excellence, humility, run for fun, and personal bests. This unique and remarkable structure would never have been built without the inspiration and gentle prodding of Al Carius, as we've heard a little today, who I so wish could have been here to join us. In fact, my last communication from him was just a few days before he died, and he basically was congratulating and saying all the things that he always said, including, "I love you, Hal," which was an extraordinary statement and one that I will carry with me forever. So many to thank, so little time. Benna and I are humbled and deeply grateful for this honor. Deeply grateful to you, President GP, and the Board of Trustees, Mike Nassett, and the hundreds of faculty and staff and thousands of students and alumni who made our 22 years on the hill overlooking this site, over half our married life, so full of never to be forgotten moments, so many memories, so much joy and love. I didn't know that they could make me cry, but they did with the choir. Special gratitude to the Dream Team. Dev Pandian, Paul Loscheider, Rick Spencer, and Lori Heyman. I love you. I love you. I love you. Their creative and catalytic partnership in the cabinet over 2 decades invented this building, as Rick sort of alluded to, along with wonderful Dick Worley, Tom Burchard, the architect, and so many others. But it was a catalyst, and it was that cast of characters. And they underwrote so many of the achievements of our years here. And Peggy Wyora White, Jeannie Pudge-White, Joe Fuentes, John Rogayowitz, and the physical plant staff who made the President's office and our house and our day-to-day life possible. Rightly, all of the people I have named, and many, many trustee, faculty, and staff colleagues, and alumni, and community supporters whose names I cannot call out, should have their names on this building. You, they, did the heavy lifting. Putting a president's name above the title should be seen as a shorthand for these heavy lifters and the eras they were a part of. That said, we live in a time when the half-life of college presidents gets shorter and shorter. Most days, as many alluded to it here today, most days being a president is a joy. That was certainly our experience. But sometimes it can be a hard and lonely job, like when a student dies. Which is why I'm particularly grateful that Benna's vital role in loving and supporting Cardinal Nation and me is being recognized with this honor, and that our children, Anna, Henry, Ty, and grandkids, Ben, Gabe, and Maya, are here to witness. For me, they, the family, have always been the most important presidential support structure. Every era brings its own challenges. Reflecting on President Arlo Schilling's full plate amidst the tensions of the 1960s when EUB church support disappeared, and President Gail Swing needing to pull the college back from the fiscal cliff, and President Troy Hammond confronting COVID, AI, and having to prepare NCC for a brave new world. reflecting on those eras and the hundreds of faculty and staff from Dick Eastman to GP who enabled the presidential successes of their eras. Well, there are still buildings around campus that could use some names. We've been so lucky. Benna and I have been so lucky. The right place, the right time, the school we love. So many to thank no longer here. Steve Bergerson, Claire, Jeff Osterly, Judy Stevenson, Harold White, Al Benedetti, Dick Worley, Rita Harvard, Dan and Greta Ruge, the Schneller sisters. I could go on, as I often did. And those thankfully still with us. Dick and Arlene Nornberg, driving from St. Petersburg, Florida, for their 70th reunion. Myron Wentz, John Bramson, Bob Wislow, Steve Haft, honored earlier today. Again, I could go on and on. We are so lucky and so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For now, it'll be the Wilde Center. But when we're long gone, when our grandkids bring their children to this campus, and they will, it'll probably be the Wilde Center. And that's okay. It is, after all, a residence hall. God bless. I should have mentioned Marty. You're supposed to pull this? Tell us what to do. We're just the piano players.
I don't know what we're doing. Are we talking here? Daddy, Jim?
I should do it? Oh, look at Spencer, he's just talking in front. I think, Mike, get away. Get up here, Lori.
Hang on just a minute. Let Steve take a couple pictures. Benna, you should get a hand in on the,
Yeah, get
on
up
the
here,
ribbon as
Lori.
well, please.
Get up here, Lori.
Please welcome the concert choir back. They're going to sing the alma mater. And for the alums who are back, anybody, please join them in singing with Dr. Wiss would love that. Please, the North Central College Concert Choir.
We've been there with you, Thank you.
Thank you.